Hello, friends. Welcome to Heidi's Colorful Colorado. I'm your host, Heidi Ganal, a wife, mom of four, CU Regent, and the founder of Camp Bow Wow and the She Factor. With a passion for keeping the spirit of our state alive and well, I started this podcast to bring the people of Colorado together to celebrate the amazing state we call home. Come along on this journey with me as I travel across our old country roads in my vintage RV, interviewing folks that embody the true spirit of the Rocky Mountains. From the Front Range to the mile-high city to the wild west of southern Colorado, we'll celebrate the history, beauty, and Coloradans that make this place the colorful state it is. Each week, you'll meet people trailblazing the way for an even more colorful future for us all, making a huge difference along the way. Are you ready for a Rocky Mountain ride? Let's do this, Colorado.
Welcome to Heidi's Colorful Colorado. Boy, do we have a treat today. I just spent the whole weekend binge watching this incredible show called Race to the Center of the Earth on National Geographic. And we have Dave, Mindy, and Paul here who were contestants on the show. They're all from Colorado, from Denver, not maybe originally, but you guys work together. I'm so happy to have you here.
We're glad to be here.
Thanks, Heidi.
I'm so glad you survived unscathed, at least enough to be here. We won't let on what happened at the end of the show. We don't want to spoil it for everybody. But what an adventure that was.
It was incredible. It was the whole experience was such a gift. And I'd like to think we took every advantage of enjoying every piece of it. It was just such a great experience.
Yeah. Now, you guys start by telling me how you got this group together, because you guys work together, right?
Yeah.
Paul, you give that story.
Yeah, so it all started on Instagram. And someone messaged me on Instagram saying, would you like an opportunity to be in an amazing race type show? Said, yeah, I'm all in. I'm all game for that. I said, okay, well, you need some team members. Kimberly's like, oh, you need some team members a touch older than you. And so I tapped in on Dave and Mindy, getting the coworkers together, and through a couple interviews, we flew out to Burbank, and the rest is history. Did
you have a good feeling when you did the interview? Like, did it go well? And you were like, yeah, we've got this.
We didn't know. We really didn't know. Like, we kept like saying, okay, well, we just have to keep saying yes, and our team back at our office at BW Bacon Group just kept encouraging us, because we were all like, what are we doing? Should we do this? And they were like, yeah, if they keep asking you back, you have to. So we just kept saying yes.
Yeah. It's one of the many, many life lessons that this show has taught us. Like, for one, you've got to say yes, and when you have an opportunity to throw your name in the hat for something extraordinary, you do it. And then as things evolved, and they kept evolving for us, like it became real, and then it became real. And then I think I speak for the team, once we were selected as a finalist, we all kind of looked at each other and were like, we got this. they're going to pick us. Yeah. And I think it's largely because we went in there with what you see is what you get kind of feel. We are who we are. We're not going to pretend to be anyone else who we are. We're hustle, grit, and sizzle, the Colorado coworkers, and we're here to have fun. We're here to win the race, and we want to enjoy, bring on the adventure.
So looking back, if you had to do it over again, would you do it again?
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
Do it tomorrow.
God, that was brutal, you guys. I mean, mostly just cold. Tell us about your route.
Cold and wet.
And when did you find out what route you were going to have?
Oh, the route was, we didn't find out the route until we got to Burbank. Yep. This is after we left our families, after we left our work, after we put all of our, normal life aside, left our cell phones, and we got to Burbank. Not only did we not know how the show worked at that point, but we didn't know where we were going. So none of our friends and family knew where we were for 29 days.
Oh my goodness.
And so that was, a long time to be away, and a long time for kids and spouses and significant others to wonder where on planet Earth we were. And then we found out we were going to Canada. And at first we were like, Canada? Like, that's not that far away.
It kind of feels like Colorado.
Yeah. But, for anyone who's seen the show or who's been to Canada, Canada's one of the most beautiful places on earth. And our course was hard. We wouldn't have it any other way. And, it was just one of the most extraordinary experiences we've ever had.
So what about your significant others? Like, were they freaked out while you were gone, or were the producers in touch saying, yeah, they're okay, they didn't fall off the cliff or, break their leg?
They were in touch Not a lot, but I think periodically, like I know my sister was my point of contact. I'm not sure how you call them. And so they were in touch at least once a week, I think it was, maybe twice, just to say, you know, your
Mindy
team's,
is okay.
Mindy's, your team's made it to the next stage. You know, your team's doing great. So they definitely kept in touch with them, but we didn't actually even know that they were keeping in touch till after. So, you know, we thought we were just out in the middle of nowhere for 30 days and our families had no idea where we were. And they didn't have any idea where we were, but they did know we were okay. Yeah.
All right, so how was the food? What did you eat? They didn't show a lot of that.
We ate a lot of freeze-dried food.
Oh.
You had a good,
We were
Paul
camping.
has some good food stories.
Yeah. I mean, we had like a bunch of like MREs, or I don't know, maybe
What's
we
an
had
MRE?
a meal ready to eat.
Oh, got it.
Freeze-dried.
Freeze-dried
Yeah.
meal.
Add boiling water.
Yeah.
A lot of power bars. We had
Yeah. But yeah, what was it?
We ate well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ate well. We were fueled
fed.
constantly.
What about like your first meal afterwards? Like, what did you want to eat something in particular? Did you go to a steakhouse or what did you do?
Yeah, we wanted to eat and we wanted to drink.
we wanted a beer.
It was like a big celebration.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I don't remember what we ate at all, but it was with all the producers and all the other contestants, and it was a marvelous celebration.
So, I mean, there were so many scary points along the way just watching and take my breath away. What was each of yours most frightening moment of the adventure?
Frightening moment.
I'll start because it was on the first day. And on the first day of the show, quasi spoiler alert, but it is the first episode, we came upon a giant rock wall called Cape Trinity. Out of the Saguenay Fords in eastern Canada. And our course, by the way, ran from the eastern side of Canada all the way to the western side of Canada. So 13 days, we crossed about 3,500 miles. And that first day, we came out of the fog and the mist of a cold morning into this giant wall, and we had to climb about 600 feet up. And I found myself in a particularly, bad situation. I had maxed myself out. I couldn't move my hands and my fingers to manage a Jumar ascender, and I was all tangled up. I had forgotten my water, and I was overdressed, and I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified, dangling hundreds of feet in the air, and it was a bad situation.
And that was day one.
That was day one. Yep.
It's at the stage for sure for the race.
So it was definitely terrifying for me, but like some of the most terrifying moments we've had in our lives, or the lowest 5% of our lives, it also led to one of the most rewarding experiences at the end of the day that I've ever had. The elation of getting finally to the top of that rock after hours of absolute misery it was as good as it gets. As good as it gets.
Yeah, that was no Evo rock climbing wall in Louisville, Colorado. I mean, that was like crazy.
Yeah. So that was terrifying for me.
All right, Mindy, what about you?
The big wall was crazy, and especially on day one, you find yourself going, I don't know if I can do this, and I certainly don't want to be the person holding up this team. Like, we have a strong team, but I think for me, one of the most terrifying things too was our gnarly horseback ride. We had, this was not a gallop, right? Like, we were not galloping horses down a dirt road. Like, we were on some really treacherous, like, ledge-driven terrain up above
cliffs.
Yeah, cliffs
Yeah.
above the Fraser
life
River.
and death.
Totally.
None of us are experienced horseback riders either.
I mean, these horses were absolutely amazing, and I'm so thankful that they have four-wheel drive, but I got a surly horse, let's just say. Spoiler alert. Watch that episode for sure. But, I mean, my horse was surly, and at this point, I mean, riding, again, we're not experienced horseback riders. I've been on horse a few times in the mountains, but still, like, these were high cliffs, and, once you're up on these horses, you're 10 feet off the ground, and you're really relying on them. So it's very out of your control in that moment. So you have to trust the horse. And then my horse got a little surly. I won't say anything. Snickers was her name. She was one of the oldest steeds, I think, there, according to our guide. And she definitely had a mind of her own. Yep. So we'll leave it at that. You can watch the show, but that was pretty terrifying for me. That just felt out of control.
That was terrifying for us watching it. So
Plus one in a terrifying moment.
Yes.
But it all came out okay. But
Yeah.
All right, Paul.
Oh, geez. My most terrifying moment of the
Yeah.
show. I don't know. I don't know. I've been
You were
thinking
calm
about
the
this.
whole
I think I
time,
was
though.
pretty
You were like the
calm.
cool cucumber. Like
Were
everybody.
you terrified on the show?
I don't know. I don't know if I was super terrified or frightened. What I will say is when we got into the White Rider rafting, that was something I had never done before. And they just kind of threw us in it and said, here's a safety overview. All right, let's pick up the raft and let's put it in the water. And I was like, okay. And that was one thing that my adrenaline was pumping.
Mm-hmm.
And we killed the course there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was one thing that was like,
So I can relate to that. My one time I went whitewater river rafting, can't say that, was up in Clear Creek and got thrown out of the boat. And they didn't tell you much about what to do. They just said, don't stand up. Well, what do you think I did? Stood up! Boom! And then the guy on the side of the river who's supposed to save us, he throws me the rope because the boat's like going downstream.
Yeah.
And he starts to pull me in and he starts to get a text me, let's go the rope. And I'm like, dude, you're supposed to save me? Like, what are you doing? Yeah, I'm fine, obviously, but
Yeah.
I don't know that I love that sport very much.
Luckily,
It's
we
not
all
just-
stayed in the boat.
There's nothing like, the fear of dying to
Oh my God.
to feel alive
Yeah,
most.
I thought that as I was in the
Yes.
river. I'm like, this is how I'm going out? Are you kidding me? Like in class 2 rapids?
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
All right, you guys. So
Yep.
what was your favorite part of the trip? What did you absolutely love or just look back and think, oh my God, I can't believe I did that? I mean, the wall, obviously, but as far as like beauty and just a favorite moment.
I don't even know. I mean, I guess to start maybe broadly the whole show.
Yeah.
I mean, the 13 days that we had in Canada and then the 2 in Hawaii, it was just like all a dream. And like you wake up every day of like, this is outrageous. This is crazy, amazing. How did I get here? How did I be afforded this opportunity? But I think maybe mine was like Hawaii and the mountain biking through Hawaii. I mean, coming down Haleakala was crazy. Spoiler, I eat it. I fall. I hit a rock and I fall down, but that didn't take away from the rock.
Get
Did you
up.
get hurt?
Yeah, get out.
No sympathy here. Get up, Paul. You're the strongest one. Come on.
You guys were really tough. Like there
Yeah.
was 1 or 2 members of the other teams that you were like, come on, bud. You're like, you stubbed your toe. Come on, let's go. But you guys toughed it out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you did good.
Yeah. I mean, like I said before, Canada is so unbelievably beautiful. So it's hard to identify what our favorite spot was. Certainly when we entered the Canadian Rockies, coming from the east to the west, I think we all felt this sense of home, just the Rockies being an extension of Colorado all the way up through Canada. And so there was some really fulfilling moments there when we visited the First Nations tribe, the Stoney Band, right in the shadows of the Rockies near Banff. And then we went up through towards Jasper into Mount Athabasca, that gorgeous scene there where we're climbing a glacier. I mean, I could go on and on about my favorite moments, the beauty of the moments. I would say though, for like universally, my favorite moments were like the end of the days when we had taken off our mics, we were off the camera, and we were just giggling in the tents. Like, because it was like every day, it was just like, we just had this ridiculous experience. And we're like, we were finally just with each other. The camaraderie was super high. We were thinking about our families, thinking about our coworkers back home. And those were just such fun moments that we'll never be able to replace. Like I'm farting in the tent or whatever's happening.
Your kids are gonna love that.
Things that are kind of happening that happen in a tent. And just, and
What happens in the tent stays in the
stays in the
tent.
tent. Apparently not, because now it's on a podcast. But like, those moments to us, I mean, they're priceless. And they were just so, those were my favorite moments, the whole thing.
That's cool.
Moments.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, all those are great. I think, just from a place in a scenic, having grown up in Colorado, I mean, certainly Banff and Jasper National Park and coming into Bragg Creek, which is all there at the base of the Canadian Rockies,
Yep.
like visually and scenery wise, like it just takes my breath away every time. Like I'm one of those people who I grew up in Colorado and like every time you cross I-70 and you get the view, like your heart stops.
Yeah.
So it's like it never ends no matter how long you live here. And
never
that's
gets
how
old.
that felt still. So from a scenery standpoint, I mean, that was unbeatable. But I liked, some of the stuff that was never shown on camera the most. Like, when you're in your race, when you're doing the thing, like it's kind of tense, not in a bad way, but in a like, come on, like we gotta, this is a race. We want to compete and we want to do well. But sometimes like the mornings were awesome too, because every day we got up and we didn't know what we were doing that day.
Yeah.
We learned that day. And so you'd get up with this sense of excitement, like, well, what are we doing today? And every day was this brand new adventure. So we had like 13 crazy adventures, 13 days in a row. So I thought that was like just such a great experience to like not know what you're doing and just be told and like, well, like what's coming today? It was exciting.
Yeah.
So.
One of the funniest things was when like a team would have to just be on the road for like a whole day. And you're like, really? That's a challenge? And then they'd end up messing up or like something would happen and you're like, oh, well, this could be a twist, but you weren't expecting it. But the show was really well done to the point where we just wanted to binge watch it and keep finding out and keep watching your adventures every day. What did your family say about watching it? And did you watch it with them?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You did.
Every single episode we watched with all of our families.
Yeah, we had multiple watch parties together. And I'd like to think that we played the watch parties just like we raced the race. We wanted everyone to we wanted everyone to feel the gift of the experience that we had, and like unequivocally, universally, like everyone who watched it with us, just the amount of hope, the passion behind it, like it was so inspiring for us again to see everyone else's sense of engagement and just investment in us. It was so rewarding again, because obviously this race took place a year and a half ago before the world changed through COVID.
Oh, that's a good point.
So it's like this whole time capsule opened up and we get to relive our experience before COVID, right as we're hopefully coming out of COVID, where it's right when the world and our community needs it most, where it's like, oh, this zeal for adventure, like we're starting to capture it again, and they're capturing it through our experience. So
that's beautiful.
Just having a little role in that was awesome.
Did you get to watch it before your families watched it?
No.
So, oh, that's
We'd never
cool.
seen any of it.
Yeah.
So including like, we'd never seen any of our footage at all. So we knew what we did, right? And we knew how we fared, and we knew all the experiences we had, but we didn't know what they would show.
Yeah.
And for every 48 hours of, race, 48 hours of taping, there's 20 minutes of airtime for that.
For each of us, yeah.
So
That's
what they
nuts.
cut in was like a piece of excitement for us too. Like we got to the first episode and like, well, what's it gonna look like? What's gonna happen? And we didn't get to see or even really know what any of the other teams did. Like we don't have any idea what they did during their 13-day trek. So watching the show for us was as exhilarating as I expected it is for somebody else watching it. So we had just the same experience.
And you didn't have to deal with like your family watching The Bachelor or Bachelorette where you do really embarrassing stuff after a night of debauchery. That's good.
Well,
That's
there
good.
was some embarrassing stuff, I'm sure, but not in the I'm pretty sure I fell out of my portalage once, and I'm like, why can I not seem to stay on my feet? But
you did great.
Not embarrassing in other ways.
You guys were such an inspiration, and I want to hear, have you gotten feedback from younger people or folks that have watched the show or people our age that are like, oh my gosh, I could actually do that? That's crazy.
With 3 kids, who all go to the same school, this passion from the kids, like just their involvement in how we fared. You could just, it was a palatable, tangible sense of enthusiasm that came from the kids. And referencing these two, I had more people say to me how much Mindy is a role model to their daughters, how much Paul is such a strong role model for their sons, or for everyone really. And so that's the kind of feedback I've been getting from like the kids of just, what great feedback or what great role models my teammates are.
Yeah.
And it's just, and then there's this sense of wow. It's just like, wow. Especially like, it's one thing to watch one episode, but then after all the episodes are complete, and you consider this giant journey we went on and this total package of adventure, it's hard to comprehend. I think even for us to this day, but especially for younger folks who are fraught with imagination. it's been, again, just so awesome to be a part of.
So I always, especially my nieces who, I want to think look up to me, but I don't think about it a lot. And this show is a reminder, just even through all the other kids that they'll look up to us. I'm like, oh, wow, how much of a role model we can be as adults, whether it's to your own kids, your own family, or just anyone. And so it's been a really great reminder in that capacity of like, don't take for granted the things you do that might, affect somebody else in a positive way. And so to keep after that every day. So I don't know, that's been eye-opening for me in a really good way.
Yeah. I'd say a lot of people, even like after the show, I've been reaching out and like, okay, well, how can I get involved in like adventure racing or any of the activities that we did on the show? It's like, well, how can I do this? Whether they're asking like to do it with me or just like, where can I start? Which is, I think that's pretty fun to be like, see the community of, outdoor activity or whatever it may be growing. So
all of us have been contacted by people through Instagram, LinkedIn, by people we don't know who've just said, your team inspired us so much and bravo and thank you. And I don't know you, but I feel like I know you because I watched the show, and just what a great experience. And how cool is that for us to get those too? It's pretty humbling.
That's very cool, but very well deserved. I mean, you guys work together so well. Yeah. So now you have to work together back at your company. Is it different now?
I would say it's, I would say it is. Well, it's different, but it's not. Like this show doesn't define us, but it does represent the kind of spirit that we all have as individuals and also as a company. We approach things with a sense of adventure. Growing other companies, there's a sense of adventure. Like owning a company and running a company, there's adventure. Being a part of figuring things out as a team, there's adventure in that. There's adventure in everything. And so this elevates, I think, that sense of adventure. But I don't know that it's like dramatically different, but it's certainly changed like the unity that our entire group has. Yeah. Because while there's three of us sitting here, the rest of our teammates were a big part of this too, and supporting us and following us. And obviously they've been waiting with bated breath as to what would happen in the end too. And so it's galvanized us in a way, in such an unorthodox way. Like there's a lot of things we can do as a team to be galvanized, team activities, other kinds of things, workshops, whatever, learning. But, a reality show to galvanize us like this, it's definitely changed us for the better. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So what's next, you guys? Are you going to start like an adventure company? Or, what are you going to do?
I don't know. Well, you could probably head that up.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe we need to have a race in Center, Colorado or something.
Ooh, that would be cool.
Yeah, it really would. I think, now that the show is final on National Geographic, now it's streaming on Disney Plus. I think there's been an element of like sort of not necessarily decompression, but we wanted to allow ourselves to enjoy the show all the way along, which was there was a lot of obligation and requirements for that. Obviously a wonderful obligation to participate, but to make sure our watch parties were great, to engage with our all the community out there in this giant pond of millions of people that are watching. So socially there was some obligation there, and that's quelled a little bit. I think there'll be a big whiplash effect with the audience that Disney Plus has, but I think what's next remains to be seen. But it's embedded to be exciting for all of us.
What are your Instagram, or how can people follow each of you? Or do you have like a team one?
We don't have a team one.
We have a hashtag Hustle Grit Sizzle.
That's awesome.
Which is each of our sort of otherwise known as names on the show, and is also one of the sort of MOs about our company. Yeah. And my Instagram is Big Air Bacon.
Big Air Bacon.
Yeah, it's an old thing when I used to get big air. But, so it doesn't apply as much anymore. Yeah. And yours is Murphy Girl?
Mine is Murphy Girl, Colorado.
Murphy
CO.
Murphy Girl CO.
Murphy Girl CO.
Okay.
Yeah. And mine is Piedmont 715.
How do you spell that?
PMONT 715.
Okay, got it. Yeah. Well, I'm sure everyone's going to want to follow your adventures and see what you guys do next. Yeah. I'd say I'd love to go out trekking with you or something, but I don't think that would bode well for me.
I'll go anytime with anyone. Thanks. It's about the experience, not about the speed, not about the time.
No, and Colorado's the right place to do it, right?
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So last thing, couple questions for each of you that I ask every guest. Yeah. What's the most Colorado thing you've ever done? Can you think of
Well,
Mindy started.
I mean, quite honestly, I'd probably say this race. Before this race, you can name off like, climbing 14ers or mountain biking, or skiing and golfing in the same day. Like there's all the cliche things, not bad cliche, for Colorado. But quite honestly, like looking back at it, I'm like, this race was like the most Colorado thing I feel like I've ever done. I mean, while we were doing a lot of things in different places and different scenery, it really just felt like the same sense of like pride and enjoyment that I have here in Colorado, just to be able to get outside and do different challenges and see different parts of the country. And there is a very close similarity between a lot of places in Canada, clearly, and in the States, and especially Colorado. But for me, I like looking back, I'm like, that feels like the most Colorado thing I've ever done. I just didn't do it in Colorado.
That works.
I'll echo that, but with a different answer. But our team really felt like we were representing Colorado when we were gone.
Yeah.
Like we were the Colorado coworkers.
Yep.
And, we wanted to do Colorado proud.
And you did.
Thank you.
I'm not spoiling anything. I'm just saying you made us proud.
The most Colorado thing I've done, there's certainly the 14ers, the hut trips, which I love and adore, the Conscious at Red Rocks. I would say for the past 3 years, I've been a part of a group that's organized a buyout at Silverton Mountain, and we take 90 community members, founders, influencers, and it's my type of business networking where it's real, we're all out there, we're experiencing adventure, and we're doing good at the same time. It's all for a foundation. So to me, that's sort of, it's that melting pot of adventure, elevating each other, getting out of our comfort zone, and also doing good. And to me, that feels like a very Colorado thing.
Shoot, that's a very Colorado thing. That's like grown up, outward bound.
Yeah,
Sounds like. What's the name of the foundation or the group?
First Ascents is
I've heard of
who we
that.
support. Yeah, it's a phenomenal organization that we're all involved with in various ways.
Oh, great.
I worked I do work until COVID came as a lead chef for First Ascents as well, and so on their programs. So.
You are a many talented girl. Jeez Louise. She can hike, she can swim, she can cook. Yes.
Okay,
Paul.
Sorry.
You might have to explain that later, but.
My most Colorado thing that I've done, I don't know. I think mine's going to be a lot less layered than both Dave and Mindy's. But I don't know. I think because, I moved from Minneapolis and just coming out here and getting to climb in a bunch of different spots. And so having an opportunity to go up and climb like Rocky Mountain is probably one of my most Colorado things that I've gotten to do.
Have you guys seen? Okay, one last question to
bet.
top it off.
Okay.
When people ask you what you love about Colorado or what kind of is the spirit of Colorado, what do you say? Especially on the show, like when they would say, "Oh, you're from Colorado."
Yeah.
Man. I'd say Colorado is like the ultimate Candyland of outdoor activities. Whatever you want to do in the winter, if you want to, ski, ride, hike in the snow. In the summer, you go hike, bike, climb, whatever it is. I think, that's what stands out for me.
Okay, good. Mindy?
Spirit of Colorado. Having grown up here, like I could go on and on forever, but I think for me, it's just the combination of the pride that is here in Colorado. And I know for me, like when somebody asks me or when somebody realizes you're from Colorado, like there's just an inner pride that like comes out. Like it just feels, I'm like, yeah, I'm from Colorado. Like where else would I be from? Like it's just something that's like ingrained in me. And I think a lot of people that live here, whether they've grown up here or moved here, get there at some point, that there's just this overwhelming like level of pride to be from Colorado and to be somebody that gets to experience the life we get here. And so I guess that's what the spirit of Colorado means to me.
That's good. That's good. Dave?
For me, I feel the spirit of Colorado is to bring the best out of each other. I see it in the business world, even with my competitors. We help each other out. In the startup and entrepreneurial community, there's a tremendous zeal of a rising tide lifts all boats. On the mountain, the trail talk, helping each other out, making sure someone's okay. If they're experiencing altitude sickness, bring the best out of each other, helping each other out. I just feel like everywhere you go, whether it's on the trail, in the office, we all have this sort of DNA about bringing the best out of each other here and making the most out of every day.
Yeah, that's really well said. And that's kind of why we're doing this podcast. I started it because I saw so much divide among people in our state and in our country. And I thought, how do you get across that? And I think stories are how you do that. You get to know people, you get to understand their stories and what makes them tick. And it's a lot harder to yell at them behind social media posts, right? When you know people. And I think you got a flavor of that from people reaching out to you and saying, you have a cool story. You guys are an amazing group of people and making an impact. So thank you for taking the risk to do this. It was really brave and representing Colorado really well.
Thank
I
you.
mean, you guys are the spirit of Colorado, and I'm just super excited to hang out with you and talk to you about all of this. And I think I might go hiking this weekend or something. I don't know. You inspired me.
Knock it out. Yeah.
Well, the rains will be gone,
Yeah,
so
don't let
time
the,
to go.
and if it is raining, don't let the rain stop
Yeah,
you.
after what you guys went through, I wouldn't complain at all. I'd like, bring it. Yeah.
Well, it's an honor to be here. We're humbled and super grateful.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Heidi's Colorful Colorado. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And definitely follow me on Instagram to keep up with my latest adventures. In the meantime, happy trails from me, Heidi Ganahl.